Good afternoon to all of you. Today's class about t-test for difference of means. The test itself have different names also. Some people we say that test for significance of differences between the two means. I request all the students to mute your mic and also your audio. No. Let's continue the task. See, previous video you have seen about the test for single mean. Means you are studying about the single variable. But now we are going to be study and we are comparing more than two variables. Okay, more than one variable and more than two variables also we can compare simultaneous method. Now I am taking an example here. I wanted to verify the two brands of this plugs. Two brands of plugs have been given here, and we are going to identify their compatibility and how long they can work. Everybody knows the plugs are like to get in a power supply, and which brand of plug is so highly comparable rather than other one, and how long they can give good services to us. In generally, any electronic device, it can be work for certain period, even though very next day also it can be spoiled, because it depends on your power fluctuations. But now the companies, they have given some strong evidence that the plugs can be controlled for certain period, and they have taken a random samples from two different brands, and they have recorded until how many hours they have been worked. They have been worked. Let us see. Tests were made at a short intervals on spark plugs of two manufacturers. The following tabulation gives the number of hours of service from plugs from two sources. The two sources means two different brands. I have taken a brand GM, the another one is Anchor. Okay, and they have been worked until 200 hours. After that, the spark has come. And now, what is they asking? Does this result indicate a statistically significant difference between the spark plugs so far as mean length of service is concerned? The word mean itself, the average number of hours worked by the plugs before it reaches to the spark. Okay, now we have to build the hypothesis. Whenever you perform, you have to build the hypothesis. What is the hypothesis? Generally, we write the null hypothesis. Can any one of you say null hypothesis in generally? We say that it's a H naught. Like that. Generally, we gave that there is no significant difference between the average length of hours length of hours, between two times రాదండి, single time వస్తుంది. I'll repeat, there is no significant difference between the average length of the hours of two brands of plugs before it reaches spark. This is the way we need to frame the null hypothesis. Similarly, we take the same thing and we will be writing the alternative hypothesis. Alternate hypothesis, generally we say that H1. Okay. But here is we use simple column. No, there is a significant difference between the length of hours of two brands anachandi. You may call it as branded also. Two branded plugs before it reaches the spark. And here in the question you observe that we have taken the sample size under the GM 10 samples. Similarly, under the anchor, we have taken only the 9 samples. It is no need that you should have the equal sample size for testing of difference between the means. Not required. But in the parity test, both the samples supposed to be the equally likely. Okay, good. Now, this one, how you will be analyzed using SPSS. Now we need to open a window called SPSS window. Let me take down the SPS window, guys. Yeah, I hope you can see. Once again, I'm taking another window. Yeah, the new window has been opened. Whenever open, this is called a data editor window. Under data editor window, you have the two U's. One is the data U, another one is variable U. First of all, we have to describe our variables. Then we enter the data into the form. Generally, we have two variables. We entered in two columns. Am I correct? But here is quite different, guys. It's quite different. Here also we take two variables, but one variable is completely the values, numerical one. The another variable is two different brands. Another variable is two different brands. Let me tell you how we can perform. Go to variable U. You have the name. You just enter the name here, guys. Yeah. Now we will be creating the variables stated like this. First one is values. Entered. And the values we entered in a numerically. And there is no decimals in our data. And the label here you can mention number of hours. Number of hours working of a plug. Okay. And second one is brands. Second one is brands. What are the two brands we have? Here you have a values. Under the values, you need to change. One equal to you give GM. 2 equal to you entered as a, what is that? It must be the categorical one, but it's supposed to be in a numerical only. Then only the t-test can be performed. Anchor. Add. Okay. Then come back here in data U. You can observe that there are values and brands. Under the values, we can enter the data like 200, 210, 190, 200, 190, 200, 180, 200, 200, 210. And they are belongs to what category, guys? They are belongs to the category of brand 1. Brand 1 stands for what? GM. But I have entered as 1. Not an issue. But later I will show you. Now, come back here. You enter about to the brand B values. 190, 200, 210, 190, 180, 190, 200, 192. As you observe that the first brand consists of 10 samples. The second brand consists of 8 samples. Now you entered 222. It's indication that we are making. Now you just come here. There was a menu bar, have some shortcut to see the numbers into values, numbers into labels. That's why given 1 to 8. And it's a meaning also given. What is that? Value labels. You just click over here, it changed. Are you able to see that? Under the GM, you have entered the values. Under the anchor, you have entered the number of works of a plug before it reaches to spark. Okay. Now, how to analyze? Go to analyze in the menu bar. Comparative means there you have independent sample T test case. Now here your test variable will be the number of working hours of a plug, and your brand has to be the grouping variable. Stated that group 1, group 2, GM group and anchor group. You have to define. Here you mention the group 1 like this, stated 1, group 2, 2, stated 2. Then continue. Similarly, in the options, you can see about to the at what percent level you are going to calculate it. 95% or 99%. Usually take only the 95%. That means alpha equal to 5% level of significance. Then continue, then OK. Now you can see a window, guys. Another window, the first table talks about the descriptive statistics. You can observe that GM, how many samples are there? 10 samples. Then the average number of working hours of a plug before it reaches to the spark is 198 hours. And the standard deviation is 9.189. Means 9 hours on an average the deviation can be happened. The next one is standard error for mean. And next, independent sample t-test. This is the place where we are going to get the conclusions. And when you see this one, all of you, the first indication stated in the table is Levin's test for equality of variances. Means I am comparing the variances between the samples also. Between the samples also. But this is not required right now. For me, I want required only the t-test. What test, Andy? T-test. Now the test statistic value. What is that? 0.923. Even doesn't not required for me. I am looking only the significant value. Finally, I wanted to show that, or I wanted to know, is there any significant difference between the two brands of plugs before it reaches to the spark? It is based on the significant value. What is significant value here? It is 0.370, which is greater than 0.05. Therefore, we accept the null hypothesis. We accept the null hypothesis. Then it says that what? There is no significant difference between the number of hours of working a plug before it reaches to the spark. in generally also any electronic companies produces the sockets, the plugs, they are almost equally likely works. The reason behind that, it is the all the plugs are working based on the power supply. If power supply has a problem, some power fluctuation problem, it's supposed to be reach 240 volts to your current plug, but it is not able to reach, then your plug might be get some spark, either low voltage or high voltage. Then it says that the GM and anchor doesn't show any impact. Therefore, you can buy any one of that, as you can give a suggestion to the client, stated that you can buy any one of the brand. Generally, we see that which brand is quoted less, we will purchase for it. Is it clear, all of you? And in general also, I would like to say one thing. Many of the electrical brands, for example, people used to say for switches, plugs, and I mean the sockets, they used to take the GM. But when you come to the wiring, they used to go to Anchor, Polycap, Finelux. The Finelux is producing the switches also, but still people will not purchase. Is that clear, all of you? The reasons behind, maybe the cost problem, or maybe you may getting a good discount in this company and it's a well-known company. Like that, they used to consider, guys. I hope you understand what I'm saying. You have to write the conclusions. I'll repeat the conclusion once again. First, you have to explain about the descriptive statistics in the table 1. State about the GM. We have taken a 10 samples of GM plugs, and the average number of working is 190 hours, and the common standard deviation is 9.189 hours. And then next, similarly in Anchor, we have considered the 8 samples, and the average number of working is 194 hours, and the common standard deviation is 9.07 hours. Next, in independent sample retest, here we found the test statistics value with a significant value. Our significant value is 0.370, which is greater than 0.05 at 5% level of significance. Then we accept the null hypothesis. Therefore, there is no significant difference between the two brands of plugs before it reaches to the spark. Therefore, you don't need required to put any concern about any one of the brand as per question raised by the client. Thank you.